All right, let's dive right in. Today, we are tackling one of the biggest exams out there for international pharmacy graduates, the FPGEE. And we're not just going to talk about it, we're going to give you a complete blueprint to absolutely conquer it.
So let's be real for a second. This thing is a beast. We're talking 200 questions over 5.5 hours. It is a full-on marathon standing between you and your career. And just thinking about that can be pretty overwhelming. But that's exactly why we're here, to flip that script from overwhelmed to totally prepared.
And here's the secret, right? Success on the FPGE isn't really about who can cram the most information into their brain. It's all about having a smart, efficient strategy. It's not just what you study, it's how you study. So let's build that blueprint for you, together.
Okay, first things first. You can't win a game if you don't know the rules. So success has to start with understanding exactly what this exam is going to throw at you.
Now this is where it gets really interesting, because the official NABP content outline literally gives you the entire game plan. Just look at where the weight is. A massive 37% is on pharmacy practice and clinical sciences. Then another 31% is on pharmaceutical sciences. You add those up, and that's nearly 70% of your entire exam. This chart right here is telling you exactly where to focus the bulk of your energy.
All right, so now you know what the exam looks like. We've got the blueprint. Now it's time to build your arsenal. Let's talk about the actual tools and resources you're going to need to get this job done. And let me just be totally clear. There is no single magic silver bullet book that has everything you need. It just doesn't exist. The real key is to build a small library of really high-quality resources that, when you put them all together, give you that comprehensive knowledge you need to pass.
Okay, for pharmacology, you're gonna want to start with Lippincott's. It is perfect for building that solid foundation, especially if it's been a little while. Then, when you're ready to really dig deep, Kutzung is incredibly detailed. And for that huge clinical sciences section we just talked about, DiPiero's pharmacotherapy is an absolute must-have. No question.
Now, moving beyond pharmacology, Shargle's Comprehensive Pharmacy Review is a total powerhouse, especially for management and, importantly, calculations. And speaking of calculations, which, let's face it, can be a real stumbling block, getting a dedicated guide just for that is a very, very smart move. And then you have Remington, which is just a fantastic, broad reference for pretty much everything else.
But listen up, out of all these resources, this one right here is non-negotiable. The Pre-FPGE is the only official practice exam out there that uses real retired questions from past tests. It is the closest thing you will get to the real deal, and it is absolutely invaluable for getting a feel for the question format, the style, and of course, the timing.
Okay, you've got your resources. Now let's get into the most important part, how to actually use them effectively. We're shifting from what to study to how to study. And believe me, this can make all the difference in the world.
So many of us fall into the trap of just reading and rereading our notes. It's called rote memorization, and the research shows it's just incredibly inefficient. The knowledge doesn't stick. The real game changer is something called active recall. This is where you're actively pulling information out of your brain, not just passively putting it in. And it's been proven to boost exam scores more than any other technique, period.
So how do you do this active recall thing? Well, the best way is with spaced repetition. It's such a simple but powerful idea. After you learn something, you quiz yourself on it. Then you do it again a day later, then a few days after that, then a week later. Each time you do this, you're telling your brain, hey, this is important. And your brain moves that info from short-term into long-term memory. It actually works.
And the great news is, you don't have to manage this with a calendar and a spreadsheet. There are amazing apps like Anki and Quizlet that have spaced repetition built right in. Then you have visual tools like Picmonic and Sketchy that turn boring facts into memorable stories. And above all, the best form of active recall? Just doing tons and tons of practice questions.
Okay, so with our smart study strategy in place, let's take aim at some of the most difficult, most feared subjects on the entire exam. This is the big one, isn't it? The pharmacology and medicinal chemistry. The sheer volume of it can feel totally impossible. I mean, trying to memorize every single drug one by one, that's just a recipe for burnout. But trust me, there is a much better way.
First off, stop trying to memorize individual drugs. Focus on drug classes. If you understand how one ACE inhibitor works, you basically understand how they all work. Second, use those mnemonics. Your brain is wired to remember stories and pictures way better than just dry text. A silly little rhyme like statins take the fat in might sound dumb, but I guarantee you will never forget what statins do. It's all about creating these mental hooks and chunking info together.
All right, let's talk about another major pain point for so many people, those multi-step pharmacy calculations. It is so easy to get lost in the steps, make one tiny conversion error, and suddenly your answer is completely wrong. And then the panic sets in. What you need is a reliable system.
Here it is, a simple 4-step process that will save you. Step 1, before you touch your calculator, figure out what units the final answer needs to be in. Step 2, convert everything in the problem to those units first. This one step prevents so many errors. Then you calculate, step by step, nice and neat. And finally, my favorite, the sniff test. Just ask yourself, does my answer make sense? If the question is about a baby's dose and your answer is 10 liters, yes, something went very, very wrong.
We've covered the content, the books, the strategy, but there is one more piece to this puzzle. And honestly, it might be the most important one of all. Your mindset. It's about winning the mental game. And I want you to look at this number. If you are feeling stressed out or anxious about this exam, I need you to know you are not alone, not even close. One study found that nearly 30% of pharmacy students reported suffering from anxiety. This pressure is real, and just acknowledging that is the first step to managing it.
The research on this is really clear. The more worried you are, the worse you're likely to perform. So developing coping strategies isn't a nice to have, it's part of your study plan. This means smart time management, relaxation techniques, and breaking down your study sessions into smaller chunks so you don't get overwhelmed. And here's a really cool tip from another study. Even just brief periods of listening to music have been shown to significantly reduce test anxiety. So go ahead, make that study playlist. It's science.
And really, that's what this all boils down to. Passing the FPGE isn't about luck, and it's not about being a genius who can memorize a textbook. It's about having a solid plan, your blueprint, and having the discipline to stick with it. You've got the tools. You have the strategies. You can absolutely do this. Now go out there and conquer that exam.